angelsandShauna.com, Shauna Wood. So I would like to start off by saying Shauna has been doing this type of work of enlightenment for the past 10 years. And I'm really honored to have her speak with us today and kind of share her story as to what led her here, how she helps her clients, and how we can all raise the vibration of the consciousness together. So Shauna, welcome, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Thank you. So Shauna, you have been doing this for 10 years. What led you to this type of work?
Well, it's kind of a journey. I come from a lot of abuse and a lot of depression, lifelong depression, anxiety, and, the typical issues that those of us who are really sensitive have. I always felt like there was more to this life, and all the experiences that I had over the years, even as a child, people would come to me and ask me questions, or I would have some piece of information for someone that was well beyond where I should have been, right? My mother always said, "How are you always right?" Like, always had some kinds of difference and information at different times for different people that just came out of nowhere. Always had people talking to me. I'd be in a grocery line, I'd get a whole life story, all their deep dark secrets, and they'd be shocked, right? Like, that always happened to me throughout my whole life. And I got to the point where my life kind of fell apart. My husband and I were separating, and I was just really devastated. But I decided at that point that I had to understand myself better, and I had to learn how to change the thought processes and the things that were happening within me, to get rid of that, what I called the tornado inside of me. And in doing that and starting that process, I then came across a teacher, a healer. At that point, I really had no idea what spiritual work was. I had no idea who I was. I had no idea, what any of it was about. But I kept having this particular teacher, healer, come across my feed, and I ended up in a class, and I ended up learning some basics, of which I don't use now. I don't use any of her stuff now, but it introduced me to energy. It introduced me to being an empath. It introduced me to I don't even know how to say it, but just who I was and the energy that I held and the things that were actually happening within me that I didn't understand.
Oh yeah, absolutely. As a medium too, yes, I think that all of us that are enlightened, I tell everyone, we're all psychic. Now, do we all get to mediumship? Some do, but it takes a lot of hard work and a lot of dedication, which I think you have proven over the last 10 years in working with clients and being able to help people. And you said, people would come up to you and tell you their life story, which they obviously know that there's a light. Yeah, I really believe that our soul has kind of a beacon and a light that people just know that we have these trusting faces for whatever reason, and I really don't think it's the face. I really think it's the soul. The soul recognizes the soul energy. Would you agree with that?
I would agree with that. Yeah. And the non-judgmental, right? Like, most of us, that contain the light you're speaking of, we tend to be accepting, and we've been through a lot, right? So we really aren't anyone to judge someone else's path or what they might be going through. And I think that in itself is just something in the energy that just draws people in. I know that if there's somebody I'm supposed to work with, they find me and they come to me. It's very
well, I think that's kind of how I found you and how we found each other, I think. Just through the spirit, I have to say, that guiding light for both of us. And I've known Shauna, I'll be honest, I've known Shauna for about 2 years now, maybe. And we found that we didn't live far from each other, which is also a plus. But with COVID, everybody has to social distance. So that's kind of fun. Would you say then, with working with clients with social distancing and everything COVID going on, has it been more difficult?
It hasn't, because I found it easier to do this. I found it easier to meet with people over Zoom. Most people I work with aren't local to me. I find that most of them are spread out all over the world. So this was a great setting. It's very stable. And most people can work it, right? Like it takes a little practice at first, but most
Yeah.
people can use it. So it's very easy. And I don't have to be in the same space with someone to do anything that I do. So I can tap right into their energy. It's not, I may as well be sitting with them.
Right. So how would you explain tapping into somebody's energy around the world? I know how it works for me, but I get that question a lot, and you probably do too. When people interview you, new clients, how is it that you can read me from across the world when you're someplace else? And so how would you explain that to someone that want to work with you?
Well, you know, there's a bit of a mystery there, I think, sometimes. But I tend to, I set up an energetic space that I call my sacred space that I bring down around us both, and I ask to connect into their guidance. I ask to connect into their higher selves, whatever it is that is appropriate for me at the time.
Mhm.
And it just, energy is energy. So you just connect right in. All I have to do is know that I have permission to talk to this person, and be sitting with them, or at least have the permission. Um,
Absolutely.
and
So
it
you
just taps in.
that makes it so nice. I love it too. Just it literally comes and they show up and it's like, oh, hey, and people just don't understand. And it's like, how do you know all this? And I describe it as a knowing. I know you
Yeah.
describe it a little different. And I also know you work a lot with inner child. You do a lot of work with people that have had some traumas in this lifetime at a very young age. What work do you prefer to do? Do you like working with people's inner children? And how does that look like for someone who's needing some support there?
I think one of the most rewarding things for me has been more along the lines of the coaching, where I'm meeting with someone weekly. We are diving into things that they want to change in their life, or into the negative things that might
Mhm.
be a theme in their life. I
Yeah.
know for me, one of the most important things was changing my inner dialogue. I picked up that abusive parent dialogue and I didn't even know it was running. So that is just one of the steps, right? Like becoming mindful. To me, it's really rewarding to see them get more connected to themselves, to get to understand themselves more.
Mhm.
There are pieces of us that have had these experiences and we're still storing all of it. And it comes out in everything that we do. So when we get a better understanding of what's going on inside of us,
Mhm.
um, everything can look so different outside of us, and then things
Mhm.
kind of change, and as we make those positive changes and we bring more love into ourselves and connect more deeply to ourselves, we then start connecting more deeply to those around us. And sometimes things change, right? Like sometimes
Yeah.
people just they can't handle it, they need to move on, and that's fine too. But I just find that it's really rewarding to see their lives change,
Yeah.
um, and their light, their happiness
Mhm.
become centered and be a big part of their life. Find that happiness, right? Everybody's always
Yeah,
chasing happiness. It's inside, and when people get to that and
absolutely.
realize that, there's nothing more rewarding, honestly. And
And
I
you
do
just said,
that with spirits assistance. They
yeah,
let me know, what's really going on, and I help people to see what's actually happening within them. It's very interesting. There are times that I can actually hear their what I call their inner children, right? And how they're reacting, but they're not consciously aware of it. So, it's very rewarding to work
yeah.
with people in that way.
It sounds very fascinating too. I know with my inner child, we worked a little bit. As you know, I don't like to cry. I'm not a crier. I was always raised to zip it. And so I think you work with a lot of people, probably like myself, that has always been conditioned or told it's not okay and you don't have permission. So I think that the work is amazing that you do. And I think anyone who is really struggling should reach out to you because you have to start somewhere. And it's not for everyone, as you know, different fits,
Mm.
different things. I know, like for myself, when I'm able to take somebody from an amazing trauma or so much grief and are able to, lift it just a little bit, the inner reward, I can't even describe the feeling, but I think you understand what I'm talking about. Being able to help someone, it has nothing to do with us. And it's just a completely different energy. How would you describe that energy for you when you work with people?
Oh, is it describable? I mean, it's kind of
It's
crazy.
kind of peaceful sometimes and it can be chaotic, I think, right? Depends on the
Yeah,
energy.
yeah, it can. It can. And and I do a lot of different things. So when I
Mhm,
work with someone, like one of my first clients that I started with the coaching,
mhm.
the first appointment I had with her, I realized there was some stuck spirit there that was torturing her. There was some other energies there, and I
Yeah.
can clear that stuff. I can help them move over, or I call in their archangels. I work a lot with the archangels, and I can move that energy. And if we can clear our spaces
Yeah.
too, that brings in so much peace for people.
Yeah.
Um, I
Do you
don't know where that
notice
came
that when
out
you're
of the
working
blue.
with people, you feel that energy shift? I know you can feel that energy shift. You're very talented with that and being able to see that lighter side for people. And sometimes, as you know, working with grief or trauma, these individuals and souls really do need that help. That's why they find you, you know. And I think when we're able to shift an energy, it would be wonderful if everyone on the planet would understand a little bit about energy. I know we learn it a little in science class as children,
Right.
but we all forget by the time we're adults. We all shut it down. Do you work with people who are looking to develop skills, or are you just looking at a target group of people to work with?
Well, in the coaching process, it has become part of that healing process.
Mhm.
Most people that I have been working with, they all have some, like you said, everybody is psychic to some degree, right? We
Yes.
all have special gifts. We all have abilities.
Yes.
Most people I find that I interact with, um, they have something that's always been going on, right? Maybe
Yeah.
they didn't know what it was. Maybe like I didn't understand why I just knew things or had information, right?
Oh,
So
yes.
I have found that in that healing process, I'm also teaching them, you know, what to do for like keeping their energy grounded and putting up filters and helping clear space and,
Mhm.
really helping them get their energy and the energy around them proper too. So it kind of goes hand in hand a bit with
Yeah.
that work. Honestly, I tend to find myself teaching people to do certain things and making it part of their homework. Make sure you're doing this every day for a while.
Right. Checking in. And I think that's some of the biggest thing as working as a therapist with people and helping counsel them and guide them. I think having those check-ins every week and seeing the progress is huge. What is an average time frame that you generally work with a client? That's depend obviously I know it's going to be different based on the trauma or the situation at hand, but what is an average, would you say? And I know it's hard to predict.
Well, I mean, what I have set up right now, I have if somebody really wants to go through, they're on their spiritual path and they're looking to really start working on healing, the deeper stuff. It's a setup as an annual um,
It's
program. I mean,
an
it's
annual.
it's a year. You know,
Okay.
we meet every week, every other week, just depending on where they're at, what they need, what we're working on.
Mhm.
Um, but I also have, a program set up for like 6 weeks. So if there's just something specific that you want to work on, that you want to focus in on, that you want to understand better, then that 6 week program, is a good place to be.
Okay. And what would you say is your ideal client? What is the type of person that you're looking to work with that you get the most fulfillment out of, would you say?
I find they just need to be really drawn to me,
Mhm.
and those people are the ones
You work with.
that are easy, that are not easiest, but that I feel like are meant to connect, right? The ones
Mhm.
that we understand each other better. I find most of them come from the type of background, that I do, and maybe they're carrying a mental illness diagnosis. They don't feel like, they really fit into that, yet here they
Mhm.
are, they're depressed, they're anxious.
Yeah.
I find most people when they first start out with me, that's kind of where they're at.
Yeah.
I think that it I think that my path, that my journey to healing was intended to be able to help those who maybe have been stuck into a particular category with
Mhm.
their health, their mental health, that maybe they aren't sure they have to be stuck in. I
Right.
always felt like there's always hope. right? Like I'm like
Yes.
a forever hopeful person. And I
Me
didn't
too.
like that. Yeah. And I didn't like that the doctors would say, oh, this is how you're going to be forever. You're going to be on medications and you're going to be, miserable forever. And I just didn't understand how that was even possible.
Oh, yeah.
And
It's probably really hard to see at first and to look at that for a lifelong thing and go, no, I think you, like so many people, and I think that's why you're so good at helping others on this path, is because you're like, absolutely not. I'm not going to be this way my whole life. Forget it. I don't care what you say. I have a autoimmune condition, and they've said, oh, people have this. It's all up here in their head, because I'm also a hypnotherapist. And studying that and learning that, I'm thinking, well, no, that just probably like you as well. That doesn't define us. It doesn't keep me from doing. I have fibromyalgia, well, I experience it, I like to say. And
right.
it doesn't keep me from doing anything. Actually, if anything, I'm more motivated to get out there. Where a lot of people, from what the doctors tell me, they just roll over and play dead for the rest of their life. And I'm just like, no, that's not me. And I know there's a lot of people with the same thing as I have that
Right.
are like, oh, hell no, we want to step up. So how would you work with someone like myself in that situation?
Well, honestly, I would start looking for traumas. I would start looking for where they stored in your body. And I would poke some traumas. I would want some
Oh,
triggering going on, and
yeah.
I would want us to really look at it and work through it together, um, to get you a better understanding of what's still holding on in your body. Uh, I'm not saying that's going to cure you,
Right.
but I do find that people that have the fibromyalgia, they've got a lot of traumas and they're held in their body. You know that's what happens. Even our memories
Mm,
are held in our bodies. They're not in our
yes.
brains like we've always been taught. I was taught it was in my brain. It's
Yeah, me
not.
too.
It's in your body. Right? So when things happen, you may have your back go out because you're stressed about this or that, or whatever, like things happen. So
Yeah.
I would be digging into, what's your past, what was your childhood
Mhm.
like, what your experience has been, and I would look for the hot spots, honestly.
I would say it's
Spirit
very
helps me do
accurate.
that.
That's going to be very accurate. A lot of trauma growing up, a lot of trauma. And yes, I think, and it was interesting, you said push the buttons. And I think that the different traumas are buttons. When I studied
Yeah.
hypnosis, I had to do some of my own work with some of the other people in the class. All of them were neurologists or child psychologists or psychologists. I was the only one that was like, oh, I'm a medium, and they're like, what? This girl must be crazy, even though they found out really soon that I wasn't. But that's neither here nor there. We're here for you
Yeah.
today. But it was interesting because when I was able to release a trauma, one of the traumas, because I didn't know what it was, I haven't had that issue anymore once we released it. And as soon as you said traumas, I'm just seeing them all just popping in my head. And it's like, okay, because I'm ready to let them go. There's no reason to have them. There really isn't.
I think for me, it was just about understanding them, right? Like I
Mhm.
still have
Yeah,
triggers. I am not going to pretend like I'm perfect. I still have
right.
triggers.
Oh,
I
no,
still have
we're never
issues that I
perfect.
have to dive into when they pop up.
Mhm.
I find that things come off in a sense in layers, and you
Yeah.
you hear that from others too, kind of like an onion, right? You got to unravel that onion piece by piece, and I
Yes.
find that each time they come up, they're not as intense.
Yeah.
I have a better understanding. I mean,
Yeah.
I get confused and lost for a little while, and then I understand, right? It's
Right.
just a matter of digging into it. Um,
I think
lost
it's
my
good when we dig into stuff. And it's kind of funny. Also, I think you also do work with angels, which I absolutely love. Angels are awesome to work with. I don't see a lot of angels when I do work. I know they're around me, but
Mhm.
I don't work, like calling. I do call on certain ones for myself, but not really for other people.
Mm.
But I would say angels on a whole, I absolutely love that. What made you realize, or when did you realize that these were your angels and other people's angels connecting with you?
In the beginning of my learning,
Mhm.
I ended up working with another healer, who helped me to understand a lot of different things that were going on that the teacher wasn't really working with me on. Um,
Mhm.
One was meeting and understanding my team. I had an aversion to being called an angel, right? Like people call me Earth Angel all the time, and I'm just like, dude, seriously, you know.
Right. So,
I really had back then, I really had an aversion to it.
yeah.
But there was this one day that I was talking to this person And I was like, I have no idea what just took place, but my whole house creaked. And I'm starting to feel it now. I may tear up, so apologize. But I
Right?
felt this huge presence, and this love, like I can't even imagine.
Yeah.
And I instantly just started bawling, and I was like, I don't know what just happened. And I just like freaked. So I didn't understand. So she helped me to understand. And she said, that's your team, right? And they called themselves like I can't remember what they said they called themselves now, but there was a large number of them.
Mhm.
And a lot of them were angels. And I began to understand that who I was interacting with were different angels at different times. Ariel, Archangel Ariel, and Gabriel, of course, and Raphael and Michael all the time. So I at that point realized, oh, okay. So my guidance team is angelic, mainly, from what I understand.
Yeah.
And I just, for some reason, that's who I work with, channel
Yeah.
through that energy. They're kind of amazing, warriors, and
And have you seen one like in person? Like, have you ever actually seen an angel come forward, or do you just know what they look like or how big they are and that type of thing?
so my biggest gift would be my clairsentience, which is
Okay.
that clear feeling,
Okay.
and then the claircognizance. Um, I I do get some visions in my head sometimes, but it's not strong like the clear feeling and the knowings. I use a lot of muscle testing, and I ask questions. I have a yes and no system, right? Like I have a specific feeling that's a yes and a specific feeling that's a no. Another feeling that we're just not answering that question. We don't always answer questions.
Okay.
But I've not visually seen them,
Okay.
just felt their immense presence,
The
honestly.
immense presence. Yes. It's really is hard to describe. I know that for everybody it's different. Even with mine, I have seen an angel. I remember closing my eyes and she was just there, and I was standing in front of another very powerful medium that just happened to be related to a friend of mine. She was from the UK, and it was like I was just so flabbergasted because this is probably like 25 years ago, and I was like, oh my God, what was that? It was so cool. But I know that those of us that do this type of work that are enlightened and working on our own higher self, and our soul, because as we both know, the soul can never be hurt or damaged, but the physical body we have, is the one that has the traumas. So, but we're also here for lessons. So would you say, I think it's great. I think that a lot of people always have people around. How do you say that they connect with you more on a telepathic level? Because I know you said clairsentient and clairaudient.
Claircognizant.
Claircognizant,
Um,
thank you. Could you
yeah.
describe those for people that don't know what the clairs are?
Well, so for me, the clairsentience first off is clear feeling.
Okay.
For me, and there are times that I communicate with, whether it be a spirit or what have you, where what I'm doing is getting what they're feeling and I'm
Mhm.
translating, right?
Okay.
So I do a lot of that. I also at times feel other people's pain. So
Mhm.
I may feel that you have something ready. If something's ready to be cleared, let's just say the neck, okay?
Yeah.
Then I'll start having a pain in my neck. If it's something that we're supposed to work on, it's a cue to me to be like, okay, so you have something going on in your neck, or is this mine? Right? Like,
Right.
what's
Yes.
happening? So I feel physically what other people are feeling. I can
Mhm.
feel your emotions in a session. I don't run around town doing that. Like, I don't do that to people. It's not right. I
No,
just,
never.
I just when I'm, connecting with someone.
Yeah.
And then the claircognizant is where just things just pop in my head.
Yeah.
Like it'll be words that I wouldn't normally use, or I'll be like,
Mhm.
oh, I don't want to say that. And
Yeah.
you'd think I knew I was actually having a conversation, but
Yeah.
sometimes I have to say some hard truths to people,
Yes.
and sometimes I'll be like, oh, I don't know, I want to say that, but okay, I have to tell you this, and then I have to preface it that way. But there's just things just come in,
Yeah. Yeah.
basically. just shows up and there it is. And I have no choice but to say it. There's an
Mhm.
interesting kind of push energy behind it where
Yes.
you just don't have a choice,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
a lot of the time that's what it, and that's
So
mainly, what I get.
yeah. So I think it's funny because you're right. There's that push behind it. You're like, no, I really don't want to. And then you just end up just having to do it. You're just like, oh my God. But with that being said, so I thought it was really interesting. You had said with the push, would you say when you first, and also you were talking about picking up on other people's feelings and emotions, how long did it take you to realize those weren't yours? Took me a long time.
A long time.
A
Yeah,
long
a
time.
long time.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I think that's where, I came from all of the depression and all of that anxiety and that
Mhm.
turmoil I just couldn't figure out. That was all other people's stuff.
Yeah.
I had a very stressed, very abusive mother, and I had to know where she was, what she was doing, and how she was feeling. And that atmosphere, I'm so grateful for it because
Yeah.
it taught me how to really understand energy, right?
Yeah.
Even though I was
Absolutely.
pulling it in, right? Healers
Mhm.
tend to just keep pulling stuff in, and we're transmuting it, but we're also holding it.
Yes.
So one of the first things that really helped me was to learn: is this mine? Because
Yeah.
if I all of a sudden get a feeling, you
Mhm.
know, I need to know, am I feeling this or is this somebody else's feeling? And I found that that was one of the really helpful things, was to immediately, like, this is fine, and use that yes and no system, you know. But it took a really
Yeah.
long time to understand how simple that is, right? Like, I don't want to keep feeling things that are not mine if I don't need them, right?
Right.
And to really build that confidence. And I found that came with getting to know myself, getting that confidence, really learning to care about myself, because that was
Yes.
not, a natural thing.
No.
That kind of came along with it.
Yeah. I think it's interesting too, because when we start to realize that it's not our stuff, like I've been thinking I've got something going on medically, and it's like, but now I'm starting to think, wait a minute, this probably isn't mine. And realizing that. And it's interesting because I think when even like when you go to the store, would you say if you go to, let's say, a Winco on a Sunday after church, now you're probably going to pick up a lot of anxieties and energies right when you walk through the door. I mean, it's one of those things where you want to just get up, turn around, and go back out. But do you notice right away that it's not yours and you're able to shut it down, or do you actually
I do.
leave? You do.
I do. I mean, I still feel it. I just know it's
Mhm.
not mine, so I don't worry too much about it. But I do
Okay.
have some issues with anxiety, and there are times that I'll go into a place,
Mhm.
um, and it's just I have to just get through. I just have to keep moving and get out of there and get myself cleared out. But it's because those
Mhm.
places hold so much energy, right?
Yeah.
So many people move through them during the day, and people are having good days, people are having bad days. There's a lot of anxiety in the world right now. So right now, especially,
Yes.
I'm really liking just having stuff delivered to the house. Like, just because it's hard,
I need
right?
to start doing that. Yes, absolutely. I
Yeah,
need to start doing
it's not that it controls me, but it
right.
does definitely still affect me. I
Affects
I,
you.
I don't think we can really turn it all the way off without causing ourselves harm at this point.
No.
So we're gonna
How
feel
would
it.
you how would you say you're doing with all, because you talked about everything that's going on right now, planetorial wise. We've got this side fighting with that side and this side with that side, and just all this different weird crap going on. How is that affecting you? How are you being able to, or trying to stay as sane and grounded as possible? I'm struggling with it.
I'm
And so
struggling
I'm
with
just
it.
curious, you're struggling with it too. I think a
I
lot of
am.
us empaths are. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think one of the most important things is that we admit to ourselves, okay, I'm struggling with this. Is
Mhm.
that the end of the world? No, it's really not. So I need to be easy on myself today.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't get as many things done, or maybe I don't want to go to the store today because it just doesn't feel good. Right. And we need
Mhm.
to be okay with that. We need
Yeah.
to be like, okay, I need a day, I need to just, maybe I just need a couple hours. Right. And then I also try to connect with some nature, right? If I'm feeling overwhelmed, there's no way to get away from it right now.
Not
I'm
right now.
not finding a way to get away from it. I don't think we're supposed to. I think we're supposed to keep an eye on it. I think we're supposed
Yes.
to understand as much of it as we can so that we can help others.
Right. And
You
there's so
wanna
much misinformation right now. It's so hard to decipher through, you know, what's legit, what's real, what's not. And it's just incredible the amount of energy because it's affecting the whole planet. It's
yeah,
global. It's
yeah,
not just one location. And a lot of people will call and say, "Oh my God, I'm feeling this. What is this?" I'm like, "You're an empath. You're
right.
picking up everybody's stuff. We all are right now. And the best thing we can do is put ourselves in a tube of light or a bubble of divine and
Yeah.
white light. You know, that's something I tell people to do. And I think you're a little bit like that too, is to find a way to protect yourself in your own inner space. You know, it's nice to be able to work
Yeah,
online with people.
it is. It
It
is.
is.
I like filters. I tell
Mhm.
people, design yourself a filter that
There you
just filters
go.
out that negative stuff, but it lets love through and it lets love out. Like, I don't do well with a bubble. For me, it seemed like my
Okay.
energy couldn't move. So, like, but I have
Oh,
this
okay.
weird
I
thing.
like
Like,
the
I don't,
filter.
yeah, I don't like to think of it as protecting myself either. I
Mhm.
have this weird thing about that, and I don't know why
Oh,
or where it came from,
mhm.
but I more call it just filtering out the things that I don't need to feel.
Right. To kind of
Because
pass through and go out the other
right,
side. Okay,
right,
okay, I like
right.
that. Trap the good, release the
I've
bad,
right,
kind of like dust.
right.
Right?
Same kind of
Okay,
thing, bright
I
white
like that.
light, yellow light, green light, whatever comes to mind. But
Yeah.
I imagine it very much like a window screen,
Mhm.
but I just put it all the way around, and wherever I feel is comfortable, that's where I place it, right? How far
Nice.
out, just whatever it feels like I need, right?
Yes, absolutely. No, I think the work that you do is beautiful, and I think you're such a kind and considerate and just loving heart, you know?
Thank you.
You are, and you shine, and that's one of the things I love about you most, and the fact that you can work with people without judgment, you know, or ego. And I think when we light workers do this work, we really do put our egos aside. Now, there are people that you can spot the ego right off, you know,
Oh,
in the work. So yes, but I think that you do such a great job of not doing that. And I also know you have Heart and Soul is one of your groups that you
oh,
have through Facebook. And you
yeah.
do a lot of work for people. You're on there doing your videos and stuff and doing different things. What would you say has been the reason kind of for starting the foundation, and how much you benefit and it benefits others? What would you say is your number one benefit from that group?
Ah, um, I just like to be connected with people, you know.
Mhm,
I I do go on, I try to go on weekly or every other week. I've been a
mhm,
little inconsistent because I'm,
mhm.
right now watching my grandson as well. So time is a little limited.
It's so
Um,
precious.
but yeah, thank you. I like to go on and connect with people. I like to get on live and be pulling cards and, try to give them some direction,
Yeah,
that maybe they can't afford to get otherwise, right?
yeah,
I just like to be able to connect. I like to be able to pass on some different information as
yeah.
well. Um, I also have um, stuff on YouTube. I've
Mhm.
done some videos to help people
Nice.
expand their light and
Mhm.
ground and connect and different things like that as well.
Oh,
Um,
nice. I'll have to put that in the little reader at the bottom when we do the video, is where
yeah,
you have your channel so people can find you there. I know that you have angelsandshauna.com. That's when your website.
yeah,
And so there's a few different ways that they can find you. And then the Shauna's Heart and Soul. I think that's the name. Am I saying that properly?
yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
it's Shauna Heart and Soul on
Shauna's
Facebook.
Heart and Soul. And that's on
I
Facebook.
have
Yeah.
I have both a page and a group.
Okay.
I started the group um, because we were having problems with scammers coming on and harassing people if we were doing the live
Oh,
readings. So
uh-huh.
I started doing those in the group. So if you find my page, I'll want you to join the
Ah,
group if you want to be part of that.
yeah.
Otherwise, people were really getting harassed. I don't like that energy. Not my thing.
Absolutely. I've had similar that as well. A lot of people will say, "Oh, this is the devil's work." It's like, no, actually, it's not. I mean, God gave all of us this ability. We're born with it. That's my belief. We're born with it, and
Yeah.
I do
Oh,
feel it comes from God. There's that very strong connection to Holy Spirit, to God,
yeah.
whatever people's belief system is. You know, Buddha. There's so many different things,
Yeah,
but
whoever your source is, right?
Exactly. Whoever your source is, that divine light. Absolutely. And I think that that's such a great way to protect people is to have them join the group. Because you're right. I will see that too. And I just say, I'm going to agree to disagree. There's 4,000 versions of the Bible, apparently.
Right.
I
Yeah.
haven't read them
Right.
all. I haven't read any of them actually, but I
Right. Yeah.
know
Neither way.
my truth, and I know you know your truth. And so a
Well,
lot of people,
that's something that I like people to understand
yeah,
is that we don't all have to have the same truth. And at
yes,
different times in our lives, different things resonated with us for different reasons. And it's
absolutely.
okay to have that be a fluid thing, right? Like you
Mhm.
don't have to be
Yes,
stuck in one thing or another. And there's no shame in growing up religious and then, shifting that religion to something different. There's
absolutely.
no shame in that.
Mhm.
We learn as we grow, and we have to understand that we each have our own truth. And
Yes,
that's okay as long as we're willing to let other people hold their truth, right?
exactly.
It's important.
Yes, they have to be able to hold it. And that's why I always say, I'm so glad that that works for you. I
Yeah.
respect that, because
I,
again, my belief is different. I know God to be a loving, just a very loving, compassionate person. He holds us in compassion, not in the negative. I have a lot of people go, oh, well, God's going to condemn us. No, it's not. I've done so much research and so much work with spirits on the other side and people have crossed over. And I've even had an experience with God years ago. And it was very loving. I was a little terrified at first. It was out of body. It was like, whoa. But it was very loving, very genuine. And
yeah.
I felt that love. You cannot describe it in the earthly sense at all.
I've definitely worked with that energy.
Yeah.
Um, I find it to be extremely loving and
Yeah.
helpful.
Yeah.
And, just like anything else,
No
uh,
judgment, no ego,
no,
no nothing but pure love. It's just an incredible warm feeling, and
it
you
really
know that
is.
you're safe.
Yeah,
Mhm. I
it
like
really
that. So with your group, and I'm going to kind of talk about this a little bit with people's religion, and I'm sure you get challenged all the time. Yes, about religious beliefs. You don't?
I
Oh,
really
you're
don't.
lucky.
I know, I know,
You're so
I know one day
lucky.
it's gonna happen, right? I don't, and I don't
Yeah.
know why,
Okay.
that is. I really don't.
That's fantastic. Because nothing worse than, and I don't even defend it, what I do. I just say, well, I want to agree to disagree. I think that we need more people willing to agree to disagree,
Oh,
especially
yeah.
with everything going on in the world right now with COVID and vaccines and misinformation and just all this other stuff. And I wish people would do what feels right for them, first of all. If you want the
Yeah.
vaccine, great. If you don't, great. I think it should be an individual choice. It
I
does. And
agree.
I think everybody needs to learn to respect that. So I do a lot of work, as you probably do, trying to tell God and the planet, putting that space out there for everyone just to understand and to raise that vibration and awareness. I think it would be fun to do a same time collective, with like a group of 100 people on Zoom getting together just to hold space for something better and something to reveal itself.
Would be
You
very
know,
powerful,
it'd
very
be very
powerful.
powerful. We'll have to set something up like that and
Yeah,
get all of
I
our people
agree.
to do that. Grab all of our people to bring their people. I think it would be
Right?
really awesome. Hmm.
Yeah.
And then,
No, sorry.
no, go ahead. Well, I was going to
No,
ask you
sorry.
about your grandbaby because I know you have a grandbaby and he's so precious. He is such an incredible little energy ball and just source. I mean, you probably feel that where he's going to be in the magnitude of his gifts. And I'm grateful, and I'm sure your family is too, that you are going to be just this light and this love to teach him that it's okay to be who he is. It's okay to have his beliefs. It's okay to see spirit and ghosts and to talk to them. I think
And he
that's going to
does.
be an incredible gift to be able
Yeah.
to hold that. So that's
Yeah.
wonderful. Have you noticed stuff with him though so far? Because he's
Oh,
almost a
yeah.
year, yes?
Yeah. He's 10 months old,
10 months old.
in 2 days.
Oh,
So, yeah. So he's 10 months old.
yeah.
Yeah, I do. I notice things. I always notice things with him.
Mhm.
He follows things. He talks to things now. I mean, he's not speaking where we know what he's saying, but
Well, yeah.
he's doing a
If he
lot of
did,
blah, 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 blah.
I'd be a little scared at 10 months old.
He says certain things, but I mean, he
Yeah.
does a lot of babbling. right.
Okay.
But he reaches out to people, and you know, there's somebody, you can tell there's something there. And
Yeah.
he acts a certain way if there's some, negative energy around, or if there's, a
Ah,
spirit around, and he gets to
that's
talking.
fair.
It's
Okay.
very interesting to watch him. Very
Yeah.
interesting.
So before
Yeah.
we end this evening, I said thank you so much for your time. Do you have any words
Thank
of
you.
wisdom or any words that you'd like to share and for people to get a hold of you?
Well, first, I like to just tell everyone, just please have compassion with yourself. Stop
Mhm.
judging yourself, and just have compassion for yourself for what you've been through and what you go through in your life, honestly.
Yeah.
You can contact me through my website at angelsandShauna.com. I do have a services page. It kind of lists some things that I do, but it's certainly not limited to all of that. So feel free to contact through there. You can also contact me through Facebook.
Mhm.
Um, it's Shauna Heart and Soul. There's the page, and I also have a group. The group is private, so if you're in the group and there's not other people seeing what you're doing, um, but I'm always around.
Yes. Well, I'm so glad, and I'm so glad that you continue to do the work that you do. I know it's important, and I really believe those meant to work with you are definitely guided your way. And I hope and pray that you have continued success, and lots of people will find this and just start jumping all over your page because they have a lot to learn. And I think they're waiting to hear from you. So I think it's going to be a really good thing.
I just like to help people. So if
Yeah.
there's someone who needs help, that's the job. That's what I'm there
Yes,
for.
absolutely. Okay. Thank you.